only field I
Yes.
have. Okay.
Okay. It's 1 o'clock here on the East Coast. I am truly honored to be joined by my friend, and I would even say my teacher, avrum Burg, from who I began reading when I first started thinking about writing about this subject, and his writing from over many, many years has been very, very influential in my thinking, and I really think of him as um, a model of for how to live an ethical Jewish life in a time of really extraordinary evil. And so, Avram, thank you for doing this.
It's an honor, privilege, with one reservation. I follow you.
Mhm. Well, we can talk about that. I should also mention that for those who don't know, Avram is the former Speaker of the Israeli Knesset and head of the Labor Party, among many other roles that he's played. And I want to get into these kind of liturgical, these religious works that he has been producing, which I think are extremely important as we go in to the Yamim Noraim towards Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur and the Chagim that follow. But I first, because not everyone may be familiar with Avram's background. His father was one of the most important religious Zionist leaders in Israel, and a longtime member of the Israeli cabinet. Avram, I wanted to start by asking about the Judaism that you learned as a child at home, and what its moral content was, before I then ask you to talk about the Judaism that is being invoked to justify this genocide.
I don't have a good answer because I never thought about it. I mean, Judaism at home was like oxygen. I mean, we couldn't without it. We never felt it. We never intellectualized it. It was simply there. So if I think about it now and I have to give a little bit more thinking about it, maybe later some other memories or comprehensions will come into it. I will say it was very roundish, very soft, and very Talmudic. What does that mean? It was realistic, not very exciting at the sense that the ecstasy of Messiah is coming, Messiah is going, here is the Bet HaMikdash. No, 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 no. It was easygoing. Jewish marathonists of 2,000 years of a process. So we have a lot of patience. And we take the sages and we take the origins and we take the verses and we use them as foundations of life rather than as countering life. And being a Talmudist, my father every night, never mind what time he came back home, every night he was sitting in the middle of the night, opened the fridge against the best judgment of my mom, and ate what he called in Yiddish a viertel off, which is a pulke with a flag. Okay, I don't know how you call it but the pulke plus, and studied his daily page of the Talmud. And being a Talmudist means life was about questions rather than about answers. Life was about doubts and resolving doubts rather than being decisive and being opinionated about everything. And one more thing, the fantastic, amazing that generation sense of humor of my father was very Jewish. He was not a river who tried to dig another cleavage over the Jewish surface. He used his humor in order to build bridges. So when you take all of it, humor, bridge building, deep, profound Judaism, which is oxygen like, and Talmudic mentality of wandering, was actually the kind of compromising Judaism that I met at home.
And when you think about the religious Zionism that is dominant in Israel today and justifies and uses Jewish religious texts to justify this destruction of an entire people, an entire society, or the attempted destruction, what is its character?
The title of religious Zionism today that became is a brand of a political party is actually an abduction. They abducted the concept of the philosophy of my father's and his partners, his cohorts, and made it something else. The main difference, I will say, or the two main differences I will say are the following. The first is my father's Judaism and my father's Zionism was not messianic at all. Messiah was something to end for till the end of the days. And in a way, a coming Messiah is a false Messiah. So it's a kind of a dialectic oxymoron that can never materialize. And therefore, it's the source or the origin of the energy of eternal Jewish hope and eternal Jewish waiting and eternal Jewish patience. The nowadays religious Zionism is not just saturated with messianism. This is the engine of it. This is the under the hood of it, and therefore it's a different kind of a modus vivendi. Forget about modus operandi, at the sense that today is the end of the days. You don't wait for the end of the process. You actually live the end of the process as if it ended. So this is very eschatological Judaism. The second element is they were moderate, not just him, they're moderate to the level of today being Trojan horses, well poisoners, no goodniks, peaceniks, peacenownik, or even Avram Burg, God forbid. My father voted in 67 in the cabinet against the occupation and the conquer of West Bank and East Jerusalem. My father was one of the two only ministers in the cabinet who voted against hanging Eichmann. So the approach was very, if you want to put it in a context, the Kinderstube of people like my father, he was Hannah Arendt, Martin Buber kind of, Mishayahu Leibovich kind of a person, rather than the kind of evangelical Jews we have today.
And Avram, I want to turn, and people can put questions in the chat as always. I want to turn to these two documents that you have produced that had a very big impact on me. The first is titled, is a kind of poem. It's titled in English, If God Were in the Heavens of Gaza, and then subtitled A Biblical Wrath. So before we read these, maybe you can say something about the tradition in which you are writing. What is the rhetorical lineage that you are drawing on here in first this, and then we'll talk about the Kaddish that you have written.
The first round of your questions was very one-sided answered by me because fortunately I had two parents. I had a mom as well. And the
Yes.
foundation of my culture and the foundation of my linguistic belonging, and Hebrew is my homeland. It's not the land that is my homeland, it is the language. This is where I was born, was my mom. My father was born in Dresden, and my mom was born in Hebron. So she was many, many years before Zionism, before all she was a Palestinian Jew before everything erupted, before nationalism invaded our identity equations. And the Hebrew I have is coming from her. And here I am, a 10 years, 6, 7, 8, 9 years old boy coming back from shul and chanting and shouting the tefillot and the prayers. And she was terrified because I was off tune and because I missed the wordings and because I was not really accurate according to the exact liturgy that she was used to. And she said, "What? For my son to go for his bar mitzvah to shul and incorrectly read the portion of the week?" So everybody studies for his bar mitzvah or bat mitzvah, what, 3 months, 3 weeks before? I began my learning for my bar mitzvah at the age of 9.5. Okay, because she was afraid that, okay, so my first text, and when everybody went to soccer after school, etc., I went to the Cheder. So the Jewish texts, be it the portion of the week, be it Rashi, be it the Talmud, be it the reading of the Torah, be it the biblical verses, is my launching pad. That's my original language. I wrote a couple of books in my life. The best one that was a fantastic, monumental commercial failure was a book called Abishag. This is a biblical novel that I wrote all of it in the vocabulary of Samuel A, Samuel B, and Chronicles. Took me 10 years to filter it. Nobody understood it. Okay, because who understands biblical language now? But for me, it was very important to create in my childhood language.
Mm.
So when I come to that, it's a kind of from my mom's spiritual feeding that I was fed.
Mm.
Many years ago, when I went, I used to go to
That's what I
shul,
do.
and I read the leaflets of Parashat Shavua in our shuls. I don't know if you ever watched them. It's frightening. It's a not introduction to Kahana. It's an epilogue to Hitler. It's awful. It's embarrassing. It's simplistic. It is superficial, and it's Jewish racists. And I said, I don't want my kids to be exposed to it. So for 5 years, every weekend, I wrote to my kids my interpretation for a portion of the week. And after a couple of years, I picked up the best two of them and published my comprehensive, liberal, progressive interpretation of the 5 books of Moses under the name Very Near to You. So writing in the Jewish language
I
is,
have that book, by the way. Yes.
aha. You see, you're the one. You're the one. You made it bestseller. One copy sold. And this is how when I want to express myself Jewishly, that's the only language I have.
Mm. So I would like you to read the poem "If God Were in the Heavens of Gaza" in Hebrew. It's a little bit. It's not super short, but I still think it's important for people to hear it in the Hebrew, for those who can understand and those who can't. And then I will read it in the English, if that's okay.
You want this one? So give me a second
Yeah.
because I have the Kaddish open in front of my eyes. So give me just a second. I'll open it and we're there. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Or we can start with the Kaddish if you prefer. Either it doesn't matter.
My computer is indifferent to your preferences.
Okay. Okay.
You just say what do you want first.
Okay.
Let's with the
Let's
Kaddish,
read.
okay?
Yes. Yes. Oh, you can do the Kaddish. Okay. Read the Kaddish then.
יתגדל ויתקדש מי רבה, לא גדול ולא קדוש הוא זה, שלמען שמו דם לשווא נשפך. מתגדלים ומתקדשים אך אלה, יצרם של מסיתים, הררי הריסות ושורות הקברים, צרחות האימה והשתיקה הכפויה. לא תהא גדולה בחורבות שכונה רתומה, בזעקת ילד בחשיכות חייו, בבכייה של אמא המחממת בשדיה הריקים את גופות ילדיה. אין קדושה בדם הזה, אין גדולה בשכול הזה, ומי יאמר קדיש אחר מיתתם ומיתתם של המוני חיי אדם שנגדעו באבחת זדונם של טמאי רוח.
So I will read now in I'll read in English, and I'll read the entire thing in English. Yitgadal v'yikadash merabah, may his great name be magnified and sanctified. Not great and not holy is he, for in his name blood is spilled in vain. Magnified and sanctified are only these, the impulse of inciters and destroyers, the heaps of ruin and the rows of graves, the cries of terror and the silence imposed. No greatness shall be found in the ruins of a sleeping neighborhood, in the cry of a child in the darkness of his life, in the weeping of a mother who warms with her empty breasts the bodies of her children. There is no holiness in this blood, no greatness in this bereavement. And who shall say Kaddish after their beds and their deaths, the multitudes of human lives cut off by the cruelty of spirits defiled? Be'alma divrei, in the world which he created, God of truth, are you still alive? Why did you create your world? For love, for playing in the sands of the shore, for celebrating birthdays and hoping, for music and for building, for loving and for creating, for living and for bringing forth life. But look down from heaven and see your emissaries in Gaza and its envelope ruin worlds with curses, bind children with bombs, beloved with graves, whole communities extinguished and towns wiped. Who are you that this is your world, judge of all earth, whose judgment is annexation and corruption? V'yamlich malchutei, and may he establish his kingdom. Your Judeo-Israeli kingdom has become a kingdom of wickedness, its government of malice, its deeds of hatred and fear, a kingdom of burned toys and withered childhoods, its corpse laid in endless rows. Avinu Malkeinu, our father, our king, you and your kingdom were seized by angels of destruction, and no one called to them, enough. Do not lay your hands to the fire and to the slaughtering knife. Their God of vengeance defeated our Lord of peace. The time has come for a new creation. O God, create yourself anew, re-Genesis, other than them, apart from them. On Rosh Hashanah, the new year, the day when you conceived the world, let us crown for ourselves a new sovereign most high, good and beneficent to all creatures of the world, a dominance of compassion and of humanity, whose reign is speech, not slaughter. V'yatzmach purkaneh, may he cause redemption to sprout. Where is the deliverance? What can grow from these seeds of death? What redemption has ever sprung from fields of carnage, from the kernel sown in the souls of terrified children? How shall we be redeemed from this desolation? And how shall hope return when all hope is lost? What redemption for father and mother bereaved in the face of smugness of the sowers of disaster? There will be no redemption complete until we all rise as one together and say, enough. We shall answer amen no more to the howls of Benjamin, the ravening wolf, no more in the name of this false faith, no more for the sanctity of the saturated with sadness soil, no more for the leader, nor for the illusion. In our days and in our lives, in your lives and in your days destroyed and nights laid waste, lives become orphanhood and widowhood. The earth is soaked in blood and tears, and the heavens are silent. Why? Why now? Why at all? Every answer given is false, and the truth cries out from the ground. Beit Yisrael, and in the life of all the house of Israel, in the life of all the house of Palestine, and in the life of all the children of this tortured land. Blood does not halt at checkpoints. Bereavement knows no boundaries. A Jewish mother and a Palestinian mother, alike in their grief, bow down beneath the canopy of silence. A Jewish father and a Palestinian father, hearts broken as one. All four mourn, and only the names of upon the stones differ. There lie the fruits of their wombs, cut off unripe. Begala uzman kariv, speedily and in the near time, the graves of time have drawn close upon the living. The children do not wait. They went out of time and shall not return. They fell asleep because we did not awaken soon enough. They have no near future, and our present is hollow. In the burial grounds, here and there, rest forever the innocents who never sought to fight. La'alam ulalme al-maya, forever and to all eternity. Forever we shall not know what they dreamed in their last watch, what they longed to become when grown, to what home they meant to return at nightfall. For they shall not return. Only silence remains, the last image, and the tears that have a life of their own. Yiparach v'ishtabach, blessed and praised. Who shall bear witness to the lives that were? Who shall tell what was cut off here? Not the books of history, nor the reports of war. Perhaps the scar in the heart of the child, or the empty desk in the classroom. There is none to bless, and nothing in which to glory. Tushbachata v'nechamata, praise and consolation. What is consolation, tell me? The words are too pompous, too hollow. Private grief is heavier than they, and for orphanhood there is no rest. If from all this only one prayer might ascend, let it be. Yehei shlam araba min shamaya. May there be abundant peace from heaven. Grant peace. Peace that is not an empty prayer, nor a parable, not a distant dream, but peace that breathes life into lands of the shadow of death. Oseh shalom bimromav, he who makes peace in his heights. If you are mighty, O Lord, raise not the dead from their graves, let them rest. Only restore the hopes, and until you return from captivity, hibernation, or demise, we in our own strength shall make peace upon us, and upon all the dwellers of this land, and upon all creation, for this all of humanity. And let us say, Amen. Um, there is so much in that that I wanted to read it aloud, and I just maybe wanted to ask you to just reflect on what it was you were trying to to convey with that, and to talk a little bit about again the particular language that you wanted to use using these particular religious form to try to express this message.
First, it was difficult for me to unload and then to upload. First, the unloading. The unloading is deep, profound doubts about mercy, about faith, about manifestation of belonging, about identity, about being part or not being part with the people who share the same wordings, maybe the same prayer book, but with totally different interpretation, as if we are the same people divided by the same prayer. So the choosing of the political argument, or choosing this language for the political argument, was actually to take it from the sphere of op-ed page and articles that arrive very often, and to go to a place in which they say we have monopoly over Judaism, we have hegemony over identity, to tell them, oh no, you're not alone. If you want to talk Judaism, talk with me. Okay, I share your language. I understand what does that mean. I have a different interpretation. Face me. And it's difficult for them, whomever them are, to face this. The second is, it was very complicated for me to upload at the sense, okay, expressing it in my archaic Hebrew, in our archaic Hebrew, is one thing. Then to find the right melody in English. There, my English is not that good. Okay, my English is nowadays one. Is a TikTok English, is Arnold Schwarzenegger English. Okay, listen to my accent. Okay, and then there I had to work very hard how not to miss how not to miss what level of biblical version do I take. Once this was all in place, I asked myself, should I put it up? Should I publish it? Because it's, when you make the list, it is against the uber nationalism, it's against my government, it's against parts of our enemies that committed these atrocities as well, it's against God, it's against what is perceived as Jewish tradition. So, too much against, okay? But the only thing that stands for it is, I believe in the last verses, that peace is universal, justice be universal, and it's us human beings who should assume responsibility rather than throw everything up and wait for him or her to wake up and redeem us. And this assuming responsibility for our values, for our future, for our destiny, is something that must be said, and must be said in the right language and in the right timing. And you began with Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. We call them, in English, the days of O. In Hebrew, it's Yamim Noraim, which is not just O, it's also terrible days. So these years, the last 2.5 years, these high holidays are terrible days. So this is the language of these holidays, so I use it.
And the Kaddish, do you think about it as a call to God? Because it also there's language here which suggests that you're not necessarily sure that there's anyone or anything that is listening. What is the relationship to God that you're suggesting in this Kaddish?
Peter, I'm so much not interested in God that I wrote already 5 books about him, okay? Okay. In the sense, what do I know? Seriously, what do I know? So to dedicate my life to something that I will never be able to acquire. Okay, I know that I have responsibility, and I know that the story of Moses, which is the king, how is the king's speech? What's the name of the movie? The
Yeah, the
king's,
King's Speech
the king,
about the British sovereign.
yeah.
Yeah.
Here is Moses,
Mhm.
took the position,
Mhm.
assumed responsibility at the age in which even Biden retired, okay? became the leader of the people,
Mhm.
stuttering, hardly talks.
Yes, yes.
Took him 40 years to learn his oration.
Mm.
And then you read the book of Deuteronomy and you say, wow, what an orator. What a beautiful delivery. Not bad for 40 years of education at later stages in life. And when I listen to Moses, the most fascinating message of Moses for me is not that he went up and met or did not meet God and took the other tabernacles. No, no, no. It's about lo bashamayim hi.
Mhm, mhm.
It's not up in heaven, it's down here. It's your Protestant responsibility. It's not the Catholic Church to interpret it for you. בפיך ובלבבך לעשותו. It's in your mouth and in your heart to do it. So I have a personal responsibility for the betterment of the world. This is what I take from the message of the of fundamental Judaism. And the minute it is like that, do I care? I do not care if there is a God or not. That's my responsibility. If I'm good, somebody will happy with me. If I'm bad, I'll face it later. If I'm wrong, I mean. But
Yes.
it's my responsibility, regardless of what people interpret as a divine instruction. I never met the divinity, and he never instructed me or she.
So there have been other moments in Jewish history, many other moments when Jews have asked, have been angry at God, have raged against God, have asked whether God exists because of the things that they have witnessed. Um, um, I wonder what you think from a religious perspective, from a theological perspective. I mean, obviously, we tend to think of those, the Crusades, the Shoah, right? In what way is this moment like similar and different from those moments when Jews raged against God or questioned the existence of God because of what was being done to us, and what you, I think, are doing, which is challenging God in a way, asking the question of whether there can be a just God because of what Jews are doing to others.
I don't challenge God because he's out of the scene. I challenge the humans who interpret or behave as if they're the emissaries of his or on his mission. And for your question, we used to say at home, my father was, as you said, a very important politician, and he was, among other things, an ordained rabbi and an intellectual, and then used to say something beautiful. He used to say that history is the politics of the past, and politics is the history of the future. So between politics and history, when you ask me about this moment, I will say we are different than previous experiences or horrific experiences of Jewish past. 180%, 180 degrees at least, maybe even more. So the cycle goes full circle. First, you remember the destruction of the Second Temple.
Not
Where
personally, but yes.
the Second Temple. Yeah, the first one was just a dry
Yes, right.
drill.
I
And
mean, I wasn't
we
there for either, but yes, yes,
yeah, but the first one
yes,
we just
yes,
exercised. The second one we came matured,
yes,
okay? And what do we take from the Romans who came to extinguish a rebel at the borders of the Eastern Empire? That was the geopolitical situation. And small group rebelled. They came, quetched it, and that's it. End of story. Not a big deal. They did 100 like this a day. The way we registered it in our collective memory was in our tefillah, "Mipnei chataenu galinu me'artzenu." Because of our sins, we were exiled.
yes,
This was assuming responsibility. When you look at the situation or situations of Jews today and of Israelis today, yes, we have our adversaries to put a lot of responsibility on, but is it Hamas responsibility only? The answer is no. Did any one of the Israeli leadership assume responsibility to what happens now? From 100 years of conflict that we ignore the Palestinian misery, from 60 some years of oppression and denying democratic and human rights for millions of people, did we ever say, Chatanu Avinu Pashanu al chet shechatanu lefanecha? Never. Did any prime minister recently said maybe a little tiny part of October 7th is my responsibility? Never. So the first departure from history, learning from history, is assuming responsibility. We are irresponsible people as for now, for anything. Everybody is guilty. Everybody is responsible but us. The second is as follows. We are in a new chapter in our history, which I'm not at all sure we are yet equipped for. We have power, we have independence and sovereignty, and we have potential acceptance in the family of nations. None of these three was available for Jews in any one of the previous rounds. And we behave as if we still live in the biggest shtetl ever built, and all the goyim are against us. And you, as Western world Jews, you know how wrong this perception is. And you know how much power doesn't solve everything, because what guarantees your freedom and your everything is a constitutional society with respect for human rights and civil rights, and accepting every human as equal, rather than American Jewry have 200 denied bombs. So power and sovereignty and acceptance that we have nowadays, we did not yet grow up into it. We did not yet grow up into it. So we behave exilically by having sovereignty. And that's the wrong of both worlds.
And Avram, again, as we come towards the Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, what would you say to a Jew and I who said to you, I'm done with this. These shuls, these liturgy, all of what I see, it's soaked in blood. It's morally corrupted. I'm done with not just Israel. I'm done with with this tradition that Israel invokes to do what it's doing to the Palestinians in Gaza. There was a professor of Jewish studies who was an religiously observant man himself, who told me a couple of weeks ago that he was this close to basically saying to hell with all of it. Tell me what you would say to such a person.
First, I will say I understand. To begin with, the major chunks of the ordinary, regular, normal prayers that I cannot participate. Do I want a third temple? No. Do I want bloody rituals in the next temple with slaughterhouses, etc.? Oh, no. Do I want Kohanim, which means a genetic superior tribe to the others? The answer is no. I mean, do I really want to live in a democracy that one element is chosen? Democracy is equal for all, and I'm a member of a tribe which is chosen over the other? The answer is no. So Ata Bechartanu doesn't work for me. I mean, there is a lot to be fixed, and I have a problem regardless of Gaza, regardless of the wrongdoings that Israel performs nowadays. So yes, a lot has to be faced in modern time. The Jewish people did not yet meet the three most amazing challenges of recent generations: secularism, the Holocaust, and the establishment of the State of Israel. Technically, we did. Organizationally, we did. Spiritually, conceptually, theologically, we're not yet there. Maybe it takes longer. So whomever comes with this, I'm fed up with that, I say, I understand. And then I come with two other things. The first is a challenge. Don't run away. Face it. Run towards it. Go to shul. Challenge the rabbi. Unlike the obedience of the sermon, talk during the prayer and challenge your neighbors. Don't be silent. And soon, I hope next week, we're going to launch, another article of mine that created a huge Uh,
Yes,
you can
please
say
talk about this. I
you
was going
can
to get to
say
it, but talk
you
about
can
it.
say either balagan, which is what is balagan? Mess,
Uh,
or
yeah, I would say
still,
mess,
still, still, still
disturbance. Yeah,
or created some feedbacks. And I wrote, Jews rebel, rebel. Don't be silent. Don't be indifferent. And next week, we're going to launch an international campaign that, Peter, I'm so honored that
of course,
you walk with me as
of course,
shoulder to shoulder, as
of course,
the old Marxists are saying. Okay, we are marching in
of
order
course.
to tell Jews to take a position against what's going on here. Maybe it's this will be the high holidays of the Declaration of Independence of Diaspora Jewry from the enslavement of the last 80 years to uber nationalism and uber sovereigntism. And last but not least, if this doesn't work and this doesn't work and you don't want to listen and you're fed up and you stay at home, just join me. ועל כולם אלוה סליחות, סלח לנו, מחל לנו, כפר לנו. When you don't have words, the melodies also work.
Yes, yes.
Load them differently.
Tell me about the petition, Avram. I think there's a link to it, and I hope everyone will click on the link. Tell me what the petition says, how many people you hope to will sign it, and what do you hope it could achieve?
Let's begin with a very surprising place. You are a proven and fantastic and inspiring intellectual. I'm a self-appointed intellectual, okay? I appointed myself to be one, and that's it. And I write because that's my way to manifest my feelings and to share with people. And I wrote an article, and between me and me, I thought it's an article. And I published it an afternoon. I woke up in the morning, 30,000 shares. Listen, I didn't have something like this when I ran in the primaries of the Labour Party. I mean, where is it coming from? And it was written in such a way as if it's an action already. No, it was just an op-ed page. And and I was very confused with myself. I said, listen, I raised the level of expectation here. I cannot leave it there for people to say, just empty words. So I called a couple of friends, our beloved friend Daniel Levy and few others, and addressed people of, if not now, and other people. And eventually we gathered a kind of an ad hoc minyan of people. Among them, my really beloved brother, David Myers, Professor David Myers of the former president of the New Israel Fund, the other former president, Brian Lurie, you, Daniel, and few other, Shaul Magi joined recently. I mean, people who are really my spiritual landscape. And we drafted, in a kind of a chavruta learning process, we drafted a protest which say, I'll go for the political foundation of it rather than the wordings. I hope that by Sunday, Monday, we can share and you can share it with your mailing list, the final draft. So, but the concept says as follows. We are looking for a intellectual framework of what happened in the last 2.5 years or almost 3 years. And I will say as follows: whatever wrong Israel did to the Palestinians during the last 100 years of a conflict does not justify the first step of the first Hamas criminals with the atrocities and the crimes against humanity they performed in October 7th. That was horrific. And whatever Israel exercises in Gaza and the West Bank under the blanket of October 7th cannot be justified by October 7th. So here you have two sets of crimes, two sets of wrongdoings that do not annihilate each other, do not cancel each other, and you have to address them both separately. So this letter and this petition is actually a moral call of Jews. Jews demand action to say we cannot tolerate, never mind what is the reasoning, the killing of 20,000 kids. We cannot accept any kind of politics that takes for granted the killing of so many innocent people. What for? Why? What does it do? Especially when you hear the politics and the policies and the ideology of the drivers behind it, the accomplishment of 48 Nakba, the ridiculous Trump promenade, as if everything is greed and blood is part of the greed as well. If you are a conscientious Jew, you cannot accept it, and you are not allowed to be indifferent in front of it. So the petition, I mean, what do I expect? 14 million Jews to join it. Because I believe that's the true Judaism. If, God forbid, I will be disappointed, I will be happy with the first one, and then with the second one, and then with the third one. And I've no doubt that these kind of voices will accumulate enough energy eventually to make it clear for us who join and act, for those around us, and eventually to our adversaries within the Jewish people and outside of the Jewish people, to say, huh, Judaism is not what we see at the TV. Judaism is not only what happens in Gaza. Judaism is something else as well. Judaism is still part of the moral voice of Western civilization.
And Avram, the petition itself will come out next week. Is that right?
That's right.
And if people want to find it, if they want to be involved in supporting it and publicizing it, what can they do?
I take it, I mean, now you talk to me about bureaucracy, which I'm not the best at. I
Okay.
mean,
Okay.
don't trust me when it comes to that.
Okay.
Take it, I share it with you. I share it with all of my mailing contacts. You'll do it with all of yours,
Yes.
including these beautiful people here.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I urge each and every one of us at least to share it with a million of people. So
Yes.
if we have now something like 175 people, it means just this room only
Yes.
will bring 17,500 people.
Yes.
So
And
and
yes.
multiply it by as many possible.
And what is the petition actually? Who is the petition being given to? And what is what is it calling for?
It has two dimensions. First is an internal expression of the value system we explore here for the last hour or so. The second is a call for the international community represented by World Parliament, i.e., the UN. As much as we like to ridicule it and to laugh at it, it's still the Parliament of the world, and the state players who are actually the members of this international parliament, not to be afraid from one principle only: the universality of laws of justice. Remember that all of this concept of justice, international ones, of crimes against humanity and preventing genocide, etc., were born over our dead bodies. Raphael Lemkin and company were these people that right after the Second World War gave birth out of the ashes to new world norm. It's unacceptable that the only one who will be exempt from this world norm will be the Jews. It makes no sense, and it's wrong. So it is to say we stand to the side of universality of justice. Will it be Slobodan Milosevic in former Yugoslavia, or be Idi Amin in Uganda, or wherever it is?
Yes.
No difference.
Yes.
And
yes.
once you stand there, we actually outline the boundaries of universal Judaism.
Yes. 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 And this to me also, if I can say, this to me is the affirmation of Jewish humanity. It is
No doubt.
it is to say that Jews should be treated exactly the same way as all human beings, right? That we should be defended when we are oppressed, and that we should be punished when we are oppressors is a recognition of Jewish humanity. Anything else is to see us as somehow not fully human, right? If we are to be exempt, no human beings are exempt, should be exempt from the norms of universal justice for everybody.
My
Um,
mom, Alea Shalom, was
yes.
sure that the world was divided 50-50. 50% Jews and 50% those who hate Jews. Okay, that's it. The world is equal. And for years I thought, yes, all the goyim hate us. No, because why? Because my mom told me. This
Mm,
is the same mom as earlier, okay? Now I'm not at all sure anymore.
mm,
My feeling is that there is a kind of a latent subliminal discourse between the some Jews and some anti-Semites in the following way. When you go out to so many streets in Israel and maybe in world Jewry and you ask, what are you, Jews? What does that mean? Ah, we are chosen. What is this chosenness? We are exceptional. The Jew believes that he is exceptional because we are better, we are smarter, we have more Nobel Prizes, we have more Peter Beinarts, we have whatever it is. The anti-Semite thinks, yes, the Jew is exceptional because he's a piece of you know what. So they both believe in Jewish exceptionalism from the two sides of the moon, the dark one and the little one. And I say, no, Jews are not exceptional. Jews are human beings like the rest of human beings and should be equal and treat equal and be treated equal. That's the beauty of, of normalcy in modern times. Do not perpetuate the abnormality of ancient times.
yes, yes. We only have 15 minutes left, so Avrum, I want to read the other document that you wrote, the other religious document called "If God Were in the Heavens of Gaza: A Biblical Wrath." Maybe I read in English, and then maybe you can just read the first stanza in Hebrew, if that's okay afterwards. Um,
Yeah.
um, if God were in the heavens of Gaza, and his ears not deafened by the shattering of life, and by the cries of the bound upon the altar of Israel, and if his prophets were true, not deceivers of visions, and then thus would his word come unto you. Woe unto the uprooters of olive trees who bow thrice in prayer, unto the plunderers who bind the phylactery, upon the bearers of arms wrapped in fringes, upon unto the kissers of the mezuzah who profane the holy. Who hath required this of you? To ravage and to slay, to oppress and to despoil. Was my land an abattoir, my cradle of faiths? Are ye my believers? I have loathed you utterly. Upon your sword ye stand, and by it I shall let ye fall. Turn from me, and I will consume you, blotting your remembrance from beneath the heavens. Woe unto the pilot in the skies, whose eyes are reddened with the blood he hath shed. Woe unto the listener in his chamber, who heareth his voice, the voice, and marketh the prey, yet stoppeth his ear against the cry of orphans. Alas for the gunner, drunken with the fire of his cannon, whose thunder covereth the weeping of mourners in the houses he hath smitten. Woe unto the commander, whose heart is hardened like the stone of Pharaoh, who lifteth you upon the altar of Moloch in vain, for the glory of a tyrant, his wife, and their collaborators. Woe unto the keeper of the arsenal, who is watchful for the hour of arming, yet knoweth not that the mercy of men is expired. Woe unto the scribe and the journalist, whose pen is dry and whose tongue is mute. The blood of man crieth from the ground, yet he writeth not. Woe unto the ruler who sealeth decrees of death, and goeth forth unto a banquet of fatness, washing his hands in blood, and mingling his wine with the tears of children. Ye have become slayers, murderers of God and of his image. The blood of innocents ye have spilled. The blood of war cleaveth unto your loins, unto the sandals upon your feet. Your voice is coarse as the voice of Esau, and your hands are defiled with the blood of the hunted. Of all the sons of Jacob ye remain but two, Simeon and Levi, accursed, and the darkness of Cain is upon your souls. Accursed be ye, armies of Cain's successors, tormentors and rejoicers, captains and beasts. Even Jacob the naive hath perished by your hand. His gentle voice is silenced. His raiment reeks of field and slaughter. Your stolen birthright is cursed, reeking with the stench of hunt and death. Cursed be the night wherein your mother conceived, and the day wherein ye were born. No innocence abideth in your tents. I will not gather with your assembly, for your sword ye have lifted, and the image of man and God ye have profaned. Cursed be ye forever who rend your garments with a hypocrisy, yet behold not the rivers of souls poured out like water. Ye shall not see nor hear nor more no nor know nor mourn. Let your living messiahs perish as the gods ye slew again and again. There is no God anymore in Gaza, for he is buried beneath its ruins. Only man shall require the blood at your guilty hands. Until your last day, and after it ye shall not be cleansed. Your time is come, for he that sheddeth man's blood, by man shall his blood be shed. Do you want to just read the first part in Hebrew?
I mean, when I listen to it, I don't want, wow, did I write it?
It's tough, but this is your these are not only your words. These are the words of our tradition that you are employing, right? This language is I mean, for people who may not even I am not learned enough to understand all, but this people don't understand. This text is filled in every sentence, in every line with invocations, with the language of Torah, the language of Tanakh, the language of Jewish tradition. It is this language that you are just bringing to life from this moment, right? You're a vehicle for taking this language which is deep in our tradition and applying it to this moment. And it's powerful because this is the way our tradition speaks.
Yeah, I'll read it. Yeah, לו היה אלוהים בשמי עזה, ולא חרשו אוזניו מהולם ניפוץ החיים, מזעקות הנעקדים על מזבח ישראל, ולו נביאיו אמת, ולא טועי שקר מכסבי חזון, זה היה דברו עליכם. הוי עוקרי זיתים מתפללי 3 פעמים, עושקי גזולים כרוחי תפילין, נושאי נשק עטופי ציציות, מנשקי מזוזות מחללי קודשי. מי ביקש זאת מידכם חמוס ורצוח עשוק וגזול? החבית מטבחיים הייתה ארצי, ערש אמונותיי, האתם מאמיניי? מאוס מאסתיכם, עמדתם על חרבכם, ועליה אפילכם, הרפו ממני ואשמידכם, אמחה את זכריכם מתחת השמיים.
So I put links to this and the other in the chat. Other people can put them again if they want. So I guess the last question I have for you is tshuva, repentance, return, right? Which is the theme of these days that we're going into. These days, what does it mean in this moment to think about tshuva, about repentance? How is it even possible for us?
Maimonides intellectualized it in a very psychological way. I mean, pre-Freudian Maimonides says that teshuva is charata al ha'avar v'kabbalah le'atid, which is regret of the past and acceptance for the future, which means I recognize the wrongdoing and I do my utmost not to repeat it. Technically, that's the way it works. I take it that a little bit more than technically, the minute you unload your heavy soul, your heavy heart, you have a room for new inputs. And with the hope that the new inputs will be positive one rather than negative one. Then will come a Peter Beinart, who is not here the Jewish Peter Beinart, but a cold, analytical editor who goes for this and say, hope, where from exactly? I mean, where do you take it from? Where do you produce it in your super Sparta? So I have to go back to my parents, right? We used to ask my mom, "Ma'am, what are you? Are you an optimist or a pessimist?" Now, she had terrible life. She was orphaned from her mother when she never knew her mother. Then, at the age of 8 and something, half her family was slaughtered in front of her eyes in the 29 massacre, Molding massacre in Hebron. Then later on, she lost my elder sister, her beloved firstborn daughter. She didn't have good life. So we asked her mom what, and she was a very, very positive, happy person. So we asked her mom, what are you, an optimist or a pessimist? And she said, moi, me? Of course, I'm an optimist. Today is much better than tomorrow.
Hmm.
Now, this is not a kind of optimism I'm looking for the atonement, for the renewal. So comes a different one. What's the difference? The real difference, the profound difference between an optimist and a pessimist. A pessimist all his life long is unhappy, is sour, is complaining, everything is wrong. And then in his very last day, somebody comes to him and says, Moshe, you know what? You were wrong. And he says, shit, I wasted my entire life. The optimist, all his life long celebrates. Then in his very last day, somebody comes and says, Moshe, you were wrong all your life long. He said, okay, one day. So you ask me if I'm an optimist or pessimist. I'm an optimist. It's terrible times and this and that, but there is always a room for renewal. And in a very Jewish way, when you look at all the previous ruins and destructions that we had, not just the temples, all the others as well, not even one of them, long term, mid and long term, ended up there. Each and every ruin was pregnant with new Judaism, was pregnant with new spirituality. The destruction of the first temple brought to the world prophecy. The destruction of the second temple brought to the world the rabbinical Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai Judaism. And I can go on and on what happened after the expulsion from Spain, how eventually it led to the Sfat Kabbalah and later on to the Hasidut and the excitement of Hasidut, and. So, yes, we are living in terrible, troubled, confusing, perplexing times of destruction and ruin. But I already feel the pregnancy of new Judaism coming to life out of it, ours.
Yes. That resonates with me a great deal, Avram. I have to say, almost every day. Again, I can't speak for what it is like in Israel because that's your country, but and I don't understand it like you. But I see in the U.S. almost every day in some encounter I have, I see people who are half of my age or younger who I think are going to produce something that will be radical, revolutionary, and will be a will overcome this moral corruption that just saturates so much of organized American Jewish life with tremendous talent, and deep commitment. And I do think that this moment is pregnant with something for the Jewish people. I agree that will be a rebellion, a moral rebellion against what's happening. Thank you to everybody so much for being here. We will not be doing a call next Friday, but we will be back the following week. And as always, I will put a link to the petition when it's up in the newsletter that I send. And thank you all for being with us,
Peter, תודה
especially you.
רבה. And a better and happier new year. Shana Tova.
Shana Tova to you as well, Avram, to everyone.
תודה
Be
רבה.
well. My pleasure.